This was quite a few years back.
Lex and I have been talking about that. I want to get
It's very important.
Yeah.
So I get to the to this lady's page, and she's a fucking complete lunatic. And one thing I see in one of her hashtags is #vegan_cat. And this is a total true story.
Cat is a carnivore.
Exactly.
It's classified in the biology
Yes.
books as a carnivore.
An obligate carnivore.
Carnivora.
Yeah.
The order of carnivores.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I literally in my bit, I go, fuck, should I click this? Because I was really, because it was late at night, and I was like, God damn it, this is going to keep me up all night long because I know I'm going to go down a rabbit hole. And I did. So I went down this rabbit hole. And what I said is, it's a series of photographs of cats that look like they're in the house with a gas leak. Like every cat is just like, and it's like vegan cat. My cat loves spinach. This cat's like, where the fuck is the real food?
Well, this is a good example where you've taken an animal. Like I think a lot about animals, and I confess in my research career, I've worked on animals. I have worked on a lot of animals. Nowadays I work on humans, which feels much better because they consent. And animal research is important. I mean, you have to be thoughtful about what you do and why, but it is important because you're not going to put experimental stuff into humans. You know, you could, but legally you can't. So when we take these animals and we domesticate them, sometimes it's kind and we enter this reciprocal symbiotic relationship with them, but sometimes you're depriving the animal of some basic instincts that's so innate that you're actually torturing the animal.
You are torturing a cat if you make that cat eat soybeans. Yeah.
This is why I'm not a hunter. I know you're a hunter, but I've been talking to hunters. Andy Galpin, I learned as a hunter, and I think Andy's terrific. And
he's awesome.
He knows so much. And
brilliant.
He's been absolutely a critical resource for me.
It's a great follow on Instagram too, and on Twitter as well.
He really parses the literature on sports performance physiology. I mean, he does it right down to the muscle microscopy, but he also works with athletes and typical people. He's a real practitioner. And I really have respect for him. I love these people. I guess it sounds like Danaher is his name. People have just really poured themselves into something. But he's a hunter as well. Hunters and ranchers really understand the relationship between animal and human, and they understand that before this thing is your pet, before it's got its name or it's your dog or it's your cat, it's an animal. Well, and if you look at the brain of an animal, you can understand that this brain needs certain things.
Yeah.
And if you deprive it of those things, it is a form of animal cruelty.
People need to understand about hunting that it's highly regulated too. The idea is that you're going to kill all these animals. Well, listen, you are not going to kill all these animals. They had a problem in the early 19th century when there was essentially a mass extinction of wild game animals on this planet because of market hunting, because there was unrestricted, unregulated market hunting. So people, this is before refrigeration, people would run around and they would shoot as many things as they can and they would sell them at markets. And it led to a massive decrease in deer, elk, bear, everything. Now they're highly regulated, and there's more deer in America today than when Columbus came here. They're very well regulated.
Don't they even have them in Hawaii or something?
Yes, that's axis deer, and that's a real problem because those were brought by the king of India, brought them to King Kamehameha, who was the king of Hawaii at the time, and they brought in this incredibly prolific animal with no predators. So in the island of Lanai, you got to say it right. I usually say Lanai, but it's Lanai. They have 3,000 people and somewhere in the neighborhood of 30,000 deer.
Wow.
It's nuts. When you're there at night and you drive, like we were there and this lady turned the headlights on for us and like turned towards the field, and you just see like a fucking 1,000 eyeballs. You can't believe how many eyeballs you see looking back at you. It's madness. Just seas of axis deer. And they are delicious.
Are they? I was going to ask,
are they delicious.
Good eating?
They're so good. But they evolved around tigers. So they're from India. So they're insanely hard to hunt unless you're using a rifle. So this is how hard they are to hunt. When I went there with Cam Haynes, who's probably the best bow hunter on earth, and John Dudley, who's probably neck and neck with him. And there's like us and a couple other hunters who are like top of the food chain, like Adam Greentree and Remy Warren. We were all successful in bow hunting these animals. They're very difficult to kill.
What makes them hard? So I'm very interested in predator-prey relationship. Like, so these axis deer they hear you from a mile away.
They hear you from a mile away, they're gone. They smell you, they're gone. And they jump the string. What that means is when you shoot, the sound of your bow going off makes them duck down and leap forward, because the way they move, the way they get away, is they drop all their body weight down, so they load their limbs, they load their their muscles, and then they spring out of there.
Can they jump high?
Oh my God, like gazelles. So they take off, right? And they're insanely fast. So I have a video of this axis deer that I shot at it was like 80 yards. So I'm like lined up on this thing. The bow goes off. The arrow's going towards him. He hears the arrow going towards him, and maybe 30 yards away, he's gone. He takes off. So we actually figured out that the best time to hunt them is in the afternoon, because it's windy, and when it's windy, they can't hear you. But you have to be in the right position. You have to sneak in. You got to get close enough. We were successful. There was 150 hunters after us over the next year. One was successful.
Wow.
Every single one of them gave up on the bow and started to pick up a rifle. They said, listen, this is crazy. And the guys are like, I'm telling you, this is
How long, because I know nothing about this, maybe you could explain, because I'm curious. So you'll set off on one of these hunts. How long are you going to be out for?
Well, one of the beautiful things about Lanai is that you're there, and there's a 4 seasons there. So you stay in the 4 seasons. And so you could rent a house. One of the guys rented a house, and a few of the other hunters stayed there. But there's only a few. It's paradise, essentially. So you're staying at the beach in paradise, and then you hang out all day, you lift weights, fuck around, swim in the pool, and then in the late afternoon you go hunting. So you go hunting, you leave at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's when the wind starts to pick up, and that wind will disguise your sound and your movement. And we found that to be the most effective way to hunt. We figured out somewhere along the line that we're way more effective in the afternoon than we were in the morning. And because I was there with my family as well, I said, okay, well, this is what I'll do. I'll just dedicate my entire day to hanging out with my wife and kids, and then in the afternoon we'll get to hunt again.
Very primal.
But it's
time with the family, and then go kill.
It's one of the best places to hunt. It's an odd place to hunt because it's kind of unnatural, right? You're in paradise, and it's also an invasive species. But it's one of the best places to hunt ethically, because they must kill these things because they're very overpopulated. They don't have a disease problem, but it's always a possibility that something could be introduced into the population, whether it's brucellosis or CWD or